My fiancé threatened to cancel our wedding unless I converted to Islam. I chose my freedom and dumped him. I'm a 26-year-old woman, busy juggling a full-time job and volunteering at a local animal shelter on weekends. Life used to feel pretty balanced, until the whirlwind romance that led me to an engagement I never thought I'd break. My fiancé and I met at a neighborhood event. He was charming, considerate, and we seemed to share the same values about family, career, and personal growth. Or so I believed. Our courtship was swift. Within a year, he proposed, and I said yes with genuine excitement. At first, the talk of blending cultures and traditions felt romantic. He hinted that his upbringing was devout. He gently mentioned his religious practices. I was happy to learn about them, but never once imagined it would become a line in the sand. Early on, he told me that if our marriage happened, he hoped I'd be open to learning about his faith. I was fine with that. I respect all beliefs and was willing to attend the occasional service or holiday celebration. But no one said anything about changing who I was at my core. Problems began quietly. He nudged me about modest clothing or asked if I'd skip certain foods. I thought these were personal choices he wanted me to consider. But over time, I sensed a subtle shift. He'd frown if I wore a short-sleeved dress or if I brought a certain dish to a potluck. I chalked it up to cultural differences. Maybe he felt uneasy but didn't know how to communicate. So I tried to accommodate in small ways, not wanting tension. Then came the wedding planning. We'd argue about details, location, guest list, music. Typical couple stuff, or so I thought. But behind these minor tiffs was a growing pressure from his side. He wanted a religious officiant from his faith, a ceremony following Islamic traditions. I said we could incorporate some aspects, but I also wanted my own family's traditions in the mix. He acted reluctant, like there was only one correct way. As the date drew closer, he started dropping hints about me, making a real commitment. I assumed he meant emotional commitment, trust, fidelity. Instead, one evening, he sat me down in the living room. I want us united under one faith, he said. It's important that you embrace Islam before the wedding. My heart pounded. I known he was devout, but I didn't think my personal faith or lack thereof was a deal breaker. I asked, why do I need to convert? Can't we respect each other's beliefs? He shook his head. I can't marry someone outside. My family expects it, and so do I. I felt blindsided. We never discussed forced conversion, I protested. He shrugged, explaining that his relatives would never accept a non-Muslim spouse, that I'd be an outcast if I refused. Alarm bells rang in my head. I reminded him that a relationship should accept differences. He insisted, this is non-negotiable. Either you convert, or there's no wedding. That ultimatum floored me. For days, I walked around in a daze, trying to weigh my love for him against the demand to adopt a faith I didn't truly believe in. He acted like it was a small favor, ignoring that faith is personal, not a costume to slip on. My family was concerned, especially when they learned he demanded I convert. They pointed out the red flags in such a forced arrangement. But I still cared for him, so I hesitated to call it off. He, on the other hand, became more insistent. He'd text me articles about why converting was the best choice, drop by my apartment with books on Islamic doctrine, push me to watch religious lectures on YouTube. If I expressed discomfort or confusion, he'd brush it aside, telling me I'd understand eventually. Soon, my phone buzzed constantly with messages about meeting an imam who could guide me, setting a timeline for when the conversion ceremony should happen, long before the wedding date. Stress gnawed at me. The wedding invites weren't even out yet, because we've been wrestling with these issues. My fiancé started weaving a new narrative. We can't send invitations until you confirm your conversion. He threatened that if we didn't finalize my new religious status soon, he'd cancel everything. A pit formed in my stomach. This was no longer about planning or love. It was about pressure. The more he tried to corner me, the more rebellious a part of me felt. My personal beliefs matter, or at least the freedom to choose them. One evening, after a heated argument, he revealed the depth of his entitlement. I've invested so much in us, he fumed. Spent time, money, introduced you to my entire family. You owe it to me to do this. His eyes burned with anger, as though I was betraying him by hesitating. That line stung. I realized he saw conversion as payback for all he'd done. The notion of owing him something so intimate was repulsive. I tried compromise. I'll learn about Islam, meet your family's expectations halfway. But I can't promise conversion under duress. He refused any half measure. You must publicly convert, take the name, do everything by the book, he insisted. Otherwise, I can't marry you. My heart twisted at the finality. Was I truly forced to pick between him or my autonomy? I turned to a close friend for advice. She, outraged, said, "Marrying someone who blackmails you with religion is not love." Another friend suggested I speak directly with an imam to see if they felt this was normal. I did discreetly. The imam, surprisingly, was compassionate, saying forced conversions aren't genuine. "You must come to faith on your own," he said gently. I returned to my fiancé with this insight, thinking it might soften him. He only rolled his eyes, claiming that imam was not strict enough, that his own family's beliefs were stricter. I felt a chill realizing how far he'd gone in rationalizing this. At that point, the wedding date loomed just 2 months away, and we still had zero progress on finalizing details. My fiancé refused to discuss catering or music. "No point until you do what's required," he'd say. Each day, the tension soared. I was sleepless, anxious, torn between heartbreak and anger. Why had he hidden this extreme stance until now? Then came the final blow. We were in my kitchen, trying for the millionth time to talk about wedding logistics, and I pleaded with him to drop the ultimatum. He slammed his hand on the table. Convert or no wedding, period. He added a new layer of pressure. "If we break up, you'll shame me publicly. I'll tell everyone you disrespected my faith, made me look like a fool." The threat felt manipulative, like he'd twist the narrative to paint me as the villain. My spine stiffened at the emotional blackmail. In that moment, something snapped inside. I realized I was clinging to a relationship built on love once, but now riddled with demands and coercion. I refused to be manipulated into adopting a religion for the sake of appearances or to appease in-laws I barely knew. Gathering my resolve, I told him, "I won't do it. If that means no wedding, so be it." My voice shook, but the words felt liberating. He stared at me with pure disbelief. "Are you serious? You'd throw away our future over a simple conversion?" My anger flared. "It's not simple. It's my identity. You didn't mention this until after we got engaged. You tricked me, or at least withheld crucial info." He scoffed, calling me dramatic, said I was letting foolish pride overshadow our love. But was it love if he demanded I surrender my beliefs? I told him I was done. If he wouldn't accept me as I was, there was no path forward. He erupted, calling me names, claiming I was ignoring the greater good. Then he stormed out. I sat on my couch, tears streaming, heart pounding. This was the man I'd planned to marry. Yet I felt a surge of relief, like a weight had been lifted. I recognized that, deep down, I dreaded being forced to live a lie. In the days that followed, he texted me incessantly, accusing me of cold-heartedly dumping him, of mocking his religion. I never mocked it. I simply refused to be coerced. He threatened to cancel the wedding publicly, tarnish my reputation with our mutual acquaintances. I let him vent. Meanwhile, I began the painful process of calling vendors and explaining we wouldn't be moving forward. Some deposits were lost, but that was a price I was willing to pay for my freedom. My phone lit up with messages from his relatives, some calling me ignorant, insulting my character. A handful spouted vile remarks, claiming I'd led him on. I realized he must have told them a twisted version of events, maybe that I'd promised to convert but changed my mind. Part of me wanted to defend myself, but I chose silence. Arguing with them would yield nothing. One afternoon, he showed up at my workplace, unannounced. In front of my colleagues, he demanded I reconsider or face public embarrassment. The sheer nerve made me furious. I calmly told him to leave or I'd call security. He left, cursing me under his breath, eyes glinting with resentment. As the dust settled, I found myself single again, with a canceled wedding and a battered heart. But I also felt a profound sense of liberation. No more sleepless nights wrestling with forced conversion, no more manipulative guilt trips. Friends who knew the real story rallied around me, reminding me that love shouldn't come at the cost of personal freedom. My ex-fiancé continued to lash out online. He posted dramatic status updates about betrayal, claiming I'd reneged on a promise to respect his faith. People who didn't know the full story sent me nasty messages, calling me bigoted. I blocked them, though it hurt to see how easily misinformation spread. A mutual friend asked if I wanted to set the record straight publicly, but I decided to keep quiet and move on. Those who mattered knew the truth. Eventually, he must have realized his threats had no effect. He went quiet, presumably licking his wounds or searching for a new scapegoat. Meanwhile, I reorganized my life. I put away the wedding invitations that never got mailed, donated the decorative items we'd started collecting for the ceremony. Each box I sealed felt like I was reclaiming a piece of myself. I found solace in focusing on my job, on the animals of the shelter, and on the gentle support of friends who reminded me I deserve a partner who accepted me wholly. People sometimes ask if I regret the time spent with him. I don't. It taught me a crucial lesson. Real love doesn't require you to abandon your beliefs or identity. It was better to discover his rigid demands before tying the knot. The heartbreak was real, but fleeting, compared to a lifetime spent living under forced religious expectations. A small part of me feels sadness for him, too. Maybe he's so ingrained in a strict environment that he doesn't see how destructive his ultimatum was. But that's not my cross to bear. I left that dynamic for my own mental and spiritual health. If that means I stand alone, so be it. Now, I'm at peace knowing I stood my ground. Some might say I overreacted, that I could have compromised. But faith isn't a color you paint on to appease someone else. And a threat, convert or no wedding, isn't a compromise, it's an ultimatum. I chose freedom, my sense of self, over a forced marriage. If he calls it betrayal, that's on him. I call it preserving the dignity of being true to who I am. So that's how my fiancé threatened to cancel our wedding unless I converted to his religion. And I, refusing to yield my beliefs, walked away. My life is more grounded now, away from manipulation and demands. I learned that love must come with respect and acceptance, or it's no love at all. The wedding might have been canceled, but in its place came the clarity that I can't be bent to someone else's will. And for that, I have no regrets.